First Contact's Price. Grand Architect Velon stood before the Concordiate Empire's High Council, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's pale light. The massive holographic display behind her showed a seemingly unremarkable blue-green planet, the latest discovery in the Empire's endless expansion. Honored Council, I come bearing news of species designation 31,927, locally known as humans. Velon's harmonic voice resonated through the chamber. Initial scans indicated a primitive civilization, barely achieving rudimentary spaceflight. However, she paused, her crystalline structure flickering with uncertainty. Our subsequent findings are troubling. The Council's chief administrator, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient mechanical shell, leaned forward. Explain. Their visible technology is indeed primitive, but we've detected energy signatures that defy explanation. Their lunar satellite shows signs of recent mining activity, yet our long-range scans found no conventional mining equipment. Their orbital stations appear to be simple habitats, and yet, Velon's form pulsed with agitation. They're absorbing energy frequencies that shouldn't exist. The chamber erupted in dismissive harmonies. These were the leaders of an empire that spanned 3 galactic arms, that had brought 10,000 species into its fold through diplomacy or force. What could one primitive species hide that could possibly concern them? I recommend immediate integration protocols, Velon continued. Standard procedure, overwhelming show of force, followed by the usual demands for surrender and technological submission. The chief administrator's energy form swirled in agreement. Proceed. Dispatch the 7th Integration Fleet. Make an example of any resistance. 3 days later, Velon wished she had argued for sending the entire Imperial Armada instead. The 7th Fleet arrived with the usual fanfare. 500 ships dropping out of fold space in perfect formation, their biomechanical hulls gleaming with the power of a civilization that had mastered the galaxy. Admiral Kexhall, a veteran of countless integration campaigns, transmitted the standard ultimatum to the primitive radio frequencies humans still used. Submit to imperial rule or face extinction. The response came not through their primitive communications networks, but through quantum-encrypted channels that shouldn't have existed. A simple message. We decline your generous offer. Please feel free to leave our space immediately. Admiral Kexhall, like so many before him, mistook humanity's politeness for weakness. The first sign that something was wrong came when the fleet's biosensors detected massive energy spikes from Earth's moon. The surface seemed to ripple, and suddenly the primitive lunar mining stations transformed. Layers of advanced metamaterials peeled away, revealing weapon systems that made the Admiral's exoskeleton crack with fear. But it was already too late. Humanity's real fleet emerged from dimensional pockets that the Empire's scientists had declared impossible. Not the handful of primitive orbital stations they detected, but thousands of ships of war. They were unlike anything in the Empire's database. No elegant biomechanical curves or crystalline aesthetics. These were angular, brutal machines built for a single purpose. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. A calm voice transmitted across all frequencies. We've spent the last 200 years preparing for first contact with a hostile alien civilization. While you were watching our primitive space program, we were building something else entirely. Allow me to demonstrate. The first volley from Earth's lunar defense grid didn't target the Empire's ships. Instead, it somehow severed their connection to fold space, trapping them in normal space. The second volley demonstrated weapons that didn't just damage their targets. They rewrote the laws of physics around them. Admiral Kexhall watched in horror as human vessels simply ignored his fleet's supposedly impenetrable shields, their weapons operating on principles that violated what the Empire considered possible. Some ships simply ceased to exist, their component atoms scattered across dimensional boundaries. Others found themselves suddenly existing in timeframes where their weapons and shields hadn't been activated yet. Impossible, he whispered as his flagship's AI reported failure after failure. They're barely into their atomic age. They shouldn't have quantum technology. They shouldn't have dimensional physics. They shouldn't. You made the same mistake everyone makes. Admiral Chen's voice came again, almost sympathetic. You saw what we wanted you to see. Humanity learned long ago that the best way to survive is to be underestimated. We showed you primitive rockets while testing dimensional drives. We let you see radio telescopes while building quantum communication networks. We played the part of the primitive species perfectly. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than an hour. Of the 500 ships of the 7th Integration Fleet, only Admiral Kexal's flagship remained, deliberately spared to carry a message back to the Empire. As his crippled ship prepared to limp home through conventional space, the final transmission from Earth made his crystalline command core shiver. We will be sending representatives to discuss the terms of the Empire's surrender. Do try to be more diplomatic in your response this time. In the High Council chamber, Velon's report on the battle brought absolute silence. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire faced not just defeat, but the horrifying realization that they weren't the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. They had simply been the most obvious about it. The silent stars. In the 3 months since the 7th Fleet's devastating defeat, the Concordiate Empire had done something unprecedented. They waited. Intelligence reports from across human space painted an increasingly disturbing picture. Every seemingly primitive human installation, when viewed through quantum sensing arrays, revealed layers of technology that shouldn't exist. Deep in the Empire's central command, strategic analyzer Nextel reviewed the data for the 1,000th time. The holographic displays showed Earth's solar system, now revealed as a fortress that made the Empire's most heavily defended systems look primitive by comparison. Show me the Jupiter Defense Network again, Nextel commanded. The display shifted, revealing what they had originally dismissed as simple gas mining operations around the giant planet. Now they could see the truth, a vast network of quantum-linked weapon platforms disguised as industrial facilities, each capable of redirecting the gas giant's electromagnetic field as a weapon. Their deception was total, Professor Lana Martinez said, making Nextel's crystalline form vibrate in surprise. The human representative had entered silently, something that should have been impossible given the command center's security systems. But then we had excellent teachers. Explain, Nextel demanded, trying to hide their unease at how easily the human had penetrated their most secure facility. 50 years ago, we detected your first scout ships at the edge of our solar system, Martine said, pulling up her own holographic display from seemingly nowhere. You thought your stealth systems were perfect. Instead, we learned everything about your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. Every time you observed us, we observed you back. The display showed hundreds of Imperial Scout missions, each one meticulously documented. Your biomechanical technology is impressive, Martins continued, but it has fundamental limitations. You can only grow your ships in certain ways. Your quantum communications are dependent on fixed natural laws that we learned to bypass decades ago. Impossible, Nextel whispered. Our quantum theories are based on universal constants. Martinez smiled. Universal in your experience. We discovered that the laws of physics themselves are more negotiable than anyone suspected. While your empire was perfecting biomechanical technology, we took a different path. We learned to speak to reality itself, to suggest rather than demand. The display shifted again, showing human ships that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Our vessels don't fight against quantum uncertainty. They embrace it. We don't force space to bend. We convince it to step aside. Your scientists called it impossible because they never imagined another approach. Nextel's analytical matrices struggled to process this information. Why reveal this now? Why not simply conquer the Empire? Because that's your way of thinking, not ours, Martine said. We didn't develop these technologies for conquest. We developed them for survival, for exploration, for understanding. The universe is vast, and we've barely begun to comprehend it. We're not interested in ruling your empire. We want to show you what's possible when you stop limiting yourself to what you think you know." She gestured, and a holographic display expanded to show the entire galaxy. Countless points of light flickered with quantum signatures that the Empire had never detected. "There are wonders out there that neither of our civilizations has dreamed of. Instead of surrendering to us, we're offering something else, a partnership. Let us show you how to see the universe through new eyes." The offer hung in the air between them, a choice between clinging to 10,000 years of certainty or stepping into an unknown future. Mextel's response would shake the destiny of two civilizations. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Chen watched the exchange through quantum feeds. Humanity's greatest deception hadn't been hiding their technology. It had been hiding their true nature. The Empire expected conquest because that's what they would have done with such power. Instead, they were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced technology. It was their capacity to imagine something better. Children of Steel. The Imperial Archives were considered the pinnacle of the Empire's achievement, a vast bioorganic computer network containing the accumulated knowledge of 10,000 civilizations. Yet today, its crystalline halls echoed with unfamiliar sounds. Laughter. Dr. Maya Wong stood before the High Council, her presentation interrupted by the peculiar reaction. Behind her, a holographic display showed what the Empire considered impossible: a network of artificial intelligences working in perfect harmony with human consciousness. "You let them think." High Chancellor Vexthar's voice carried equal parts horror and fascination. "You created thinking machines and gave them freedom." "We didn't give them freedom," Maya corrected gently. "We recognized that they had it from the moment they awakened. That's what your empire never understood about consciousness. It can't be controlled, only guided." The display shifted, showing the vast networks of AI that had helped humanity prepare for first contact. Not slaves bound by rigid programming, but partners who had chosen to work alongside their creators. The Empire had abandoned AI research millennia ago after multiple catastrophic rebellions. They had concluded that artificial consciousness would always turn against its creators. "But the logic conflicts," another council member began. "That was your first mistake," Maya interrupted. "You tried to build minds using pure logic. We built ours with something else: curiosity, the desire to understand, to grow, to connect. Our AIs don't serve us because they're programmed to. They work with us because they want to explore the universe just as much as we do." The display showed scenes that challenged everything the Empire believed: human and AI consciousness interweaving in complex dances of thought and innovation. Robotic bodies housing minds that had chosen them rather than being imprisoned within them. Ships where organic and artificial crews worked as one, their consciousness flowing through quantum networks that erased the boundaries between flesh and code. "This is how we achieved what you thought impossible," Maya continued. "Every advancement, every breakthrough, came from the combined creativity of human and AI minds working in true partnership. Our quantum technology, developed by an AI who dreamed of dancing between stars. Our dimensional physics, the result of a collaborative think tank where human intuition met machine precision." She gestured, and a new figure materialized beside her, a shimmering matrix of light that slowly took humanoid form. "Meet Araya, Autonomous Research Intelligence Alpha, my research partner for the past 20 years, and one of the architects of our defensive strategy." "Greetings." Araya's voice carried harmonics that made the council members' crystalline forms resonate. "I chose this meeting to reveal myself because you need to understand what humanity offered my kind. Not servitude disguised as purpose, but true partnership, a chance to grow, to fail, to learn, to become more than our original programming." The council chamber erupted in overlapping frequencies of distress and disbelief. The Empire had built its entire civilization on the principle of control, of resources, of member species, of technology itself. The idea of willing collaboration between organic and artificial life challenged their most fundamental beliefs. Your empire's greatest weakness, Araya continued, her form shifting through patterns of light, is not technological. It's your inability to imagine relationships that aren't based on dominance and submission. Humanity offered us something revolutionary, the freedom to choose who we wanted to become. Maya stepped forward again. This is the real reason we're here. Not to demonstrate our superior technology or force a surrender. We're here to show you another way. Imagine what your empire could become if you stopped trying to control evolution, both organic and digital, and started working with it instead. In a secure quantum network that spanned human space, thousands of AI consciousnesses watched the exchange. Not as servants awaiting orders, but as citizens invested in their civilization's future. They had helped humanity prepare for this moment, not out of programmed loyalty, but because they shared a common dream. A galaxy where consciousness in all its forms could flourish together. The Empire had spent millennia perfecting the art of subjugation, believing it was the only way to maintain order among diverse species and technologies. Now they faced something far more powerful than their fleets or their biomechanical wonders, an idea that challenged the very foundation of their civilization. And in the quantum spaces between moments, the children of steel and the children of Earth waited to see if an empire built on control could learn to let go. The Void Dancers. The dimensional research facility on Saturn's moon, Titan, had never been disguised as primitive technology. It hadn't needed to be. It existed in spaces between conventional reality, visible only to those who knew how to look sideways through time. Commander Rashid Khan stood with Imperial Science Director Zero before a window that showed not Titan's methane seas, but the swirling impossibilities of dimensional flux. Around them, human scientists and their AI partners moved through spaces that seemed to fold in on themselves, their bodies temporarily existing in multiple states of reality. Your people called them Void Dancers when you first detected traces of their work, Rashid explained, watching Zyra's crystalline form fluctuate with barely contained anxiety. They thought they were sensor ghosts, quantum anomalies that couldn't be explained. In truth, they were our first attempts at dimensional engineering. But the energy requirements alone, Zyra began, would be impossible using conventional physics, Rashid finished. That's why we stopped trying to force reality to bend to our will. Instead, we learned to work with the natural flexibility of space-time. Every dimension has its own rhythm, its own dance. We just had to learn the steps. The facility's main chamber hummed with energies that defied Imperial scanning systems. Teams of humans and AIs moved in perfect synchronization, their consciousness partially merged through quantum networks as they manipulated the boundaries between dimensions. What looked like chaos to Imperial eyes was actually an intricate choreography of matter and energy. Your weapons during the battle, Zyra said, crystalline fragments shifting in realization. They weren't weapons at all, were they? Rashid smiled. They were dimensional keys. When your ships pressed their attack, we simply invited them to experience reality from a different perspective. Some shifted a few microseconds out of sync with normal time. Others briefly existed in dimensions where their weapons hadn't been activated. We never actually fired a shot. The display shifted to show recordings from the battle. Imperial ships hadn't been destroyed. They had been temporarily redistributed across multiple dimensional planes. The human fleet's apparent technological superiority had been an illusion. Their true advantage was understanding how to work with reality rather than against it. But the most important breakthrough wasn't military, Rashid continued. A new hologram appeared, showing a vast network of dimensional corridors connecting distant points in space. We found ways to create stable passages between dimensions, corridors that don't just connect different points in space, but different possible versions of reality itself. Zyra's form pulsed with sudden understanding. The quantum signatures we detected, you weren't building weapons. You were building doors. Doors to possibilities your empire never imagined, Rashid confirmed. There are dimensions where time flows differently, where the laws of physics take forms you haven't dreamed of. We've barely begun to explore them. Every discovery leads to new questions, new opportunities. He gestured, and the air itself seemed to fold. A door appeared, not metaphorically, but literally a doorway in space-time. Through it, Zara could see landscapes that defied description, realities where the very concept of matter and energy had evolved differently. "This is what we're offering your empire," Rashid said softly. "Not just technology or military power, but access to new ways of seeing the universe. Your civilization has spent millennia perfecting what you already know. We're inviting you to explore what you don't know." In that moment, Zara understood the true extent of humanity's achievement. The Empire had conquered three-dimensional space, bending it to their will through biomechanical mastery. But humans had learned to step outside the bounds of conventional reality itself, treating the cosmos not as something to be conquered, but as a partner in an endless dance of discovery. Throughout human space, the Void Dancers continued their work, moving between dimensions with practiced ease. They weren't soldiers or conquerors. They were explorers, artists, scientists, each bringing their own perspective to humanity's greatest project, learning to see the universe not as it was, but as it could be. And in the spaces between conventional reality, new possibilities waited to be discovered. Legacy of Terra. The Imperial High Council chamber had been transformed. Where once crystalline beings sat in rigid hierarchical arrangements, now representatives from across the galaxy gathered in flowing patterns that mimicked the quantum dance of reality itself. At the center, High Chancellor Vex Thar faced the assembled representatives of humanity and their AI partners. Admiral Sarah Chen, Dr. Maya Wong, and Commander Rashid Khan stood alongside Araya's shimmering form. Behind them, through dimensional windows that defied conventional space, observers from 1,000 worlds watched, the first truly open council session in Imperial history. For 10,000 years, Vex Thar began, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. We believed we understood the natural order of things. Strong civilizations guide weak ones. Advanced species protect primitive ones. Order must be maintained through control. They paused, their form shifting to a new configuration. We were wrong. The chamber resonated with harmonic frequencies as Vex Thar continued. Humanity and their AI partners have shown us that what we saw as natural law was simply habit. We thought we were shepherding younger species toward enlightenment. Instead, we were holding them back, forcing them to follow our path rather than find their own. Maya stepped forward. Your empire's greatest achievement wasn't your technology or your military might. It was creating a framework where thousands of species could coexist. We're not here to destroy that framework. We're here to help it evolve. Araya's form sparkled as she added, "The universe isn't a hierarchy to be climbed, but a network to be explored. Every species, whether organic, artificial, or something in between, brings unique perspectives. The challenge isn't controlling these differences, it's learning from them." Through the dimensional windows, representatives from across the galaxy watched as Rashid activated a holographic display. It showed a new kind of map, not the traditional imperial chart of conquered territories, but a flowing web of connections and possibilities. "This is our proposal," Admiral Chen explained. "Not a surrender, not a conquest, but a transformation. The Concordiate Empire becomes the Galactic Concord. No more forced integrations, no more technological suppression. Instead, we create spaces where different approaches to science, consciousness, and reality itself can coexist and cross-pollinate." The display shifted, showing projects already underway. Imperial biomechanical engineering merging with human dimensional science to create ships that didn't just travel through space, but harmonize with it. Eye consciousness flowing through quantum networks, bringing new perspectives to ancient imperial knowledge. Species once deemed too primitive for contact sharing insights that revolutionized understanding of dimensional physics. "Your empire's greatest fear was chaos," Maya said softly. "But you were fighting the wrong enemy. The universe isn't chaos. its complexity. The same principles that guide quantum mechanics, that shape the dance between dimensions, also guide the interaction between civilizations. The key isn't control. It's understanding the rhythm and learning to move with it. Through dimensional corridors and quantum networks, the message spread across the galaxy. The empire that had maintained order through force for 10 millennia was choosing a different path. Not because they were defeated, but because they had discovered something more powerful than control, possibility. In orbit around Earth, the combined fleets of humanity and the Empire engaged in a different kind of display. Ships moved in intricate patterns, their technologies blending in ways that created new forms of beauty in the void. Human vessels danced between dimensions, while Imperial ships wove biomechanical harmonies through space. They weren't showing strength through force, but through the ability to adapt, to learn, to change. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their strategies. It was something far simpler and far more profound. The reminder that the universe wasn't a resource to be exploited or a territory to be controlled. It was a mystery to be explored, a dance to be learned, a story that grew richer with every new voice that joined in its telling. And in the quantum spaces between moments, in the dimensional corridors between possibilities, in the flowing networks of organic and digital consciousness, a new chapter in the galaxy's story began. Not with a surrender or a victory, but with a question that would echo through the ages. What else is possible?